good morning, everybody. As I'm sure you're aware, the British government announced a number of green traffic lights destinations last week, and everybody's been hooping and hollering about it. But what's the truth behind the headlines? One of those countries, I believe, and in fact I'm certain, was Turkey, and one of our premier Turkish tour operators is Discerning Collection, and they're owned and run by the Wrightmans, and I'm delighted to say that this morning I have Nick Wrightman with me. Good morning, Nicholas.
Good morning, Graham. Thank you for having me on TravelMole. Appreciate it.
No problem. How are you doing? Have you learnt new skill sets during this COVID crisis? Are you now able to run from here to John O'Groats back non-stop or something?
No, I can cycle. No, we have a garden office. We built a garden office here sometime about 3 years ago. So the disaster of COVID-19 hasn't had a massive effect on our lives personally. It has on business, of course. But personally, we come to work every day as normal. So we've not seen a massive change in that, except that we can't go out so much and that we've got the children at home.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound too horrendous for you, but obviously business is a key factor in one's well-being, particularly if you're running your own business like yourselves. Turkey is on the green list, but does that mean that if I get on a flight to Turkey tomorrow, if I can find one, we're going to that in a little while, that I could arrive, say, in Istanbul, and I just straight out of the airport and go and have a good time and then get back on the aircraft 5, 6, 7 days later and come back home? Is that what it would be like?
Not quite, in that when you arrive there, everyone is temperature tested. You'll see there's a lot more, and the Turkish government actually have done, and the airports themselves. If you look on our website, there's individual airports like Dalaman, Antalya, Istanbul, have done wonderful videos about exactly what will happen when you're there. The extra cleaning, the staff wearing masks, the social distancing, the screens that are there before check-in or as you go through when you arrive. There's a whole host of information that they provide, and I think they've done a fantastic job in getting that on their sites. Now, it's our job then to make sure that our guests know all about this. And so we put it on our website, and when everybody calls, or as we send our invoices out now that they're starting to travel towards the end of July, we will give them that information. But in terms of you leave this destination here, Gatwick or Heathrow or Manchester, the wearing of masks is compulsory now in the airports. It is in the airport in your destination as well in Turkey. But once you leave the terminal, there is no requirement for masks for guests.
Okay, now you mentioned invoices. Everybody was talking about this huge, massive dam, this pent-up demand for holidays. Have you been inundated since the announcement by the government?
No, we have had a lot more interest. The problem is there would be a lot more bookings in July if the flights were available, but EasyJet, Jet2, TUI, BA have cancelled a lot of their flying in July. Turkish Airlines are still operating and to our destination airport, Dalaman, but otherwise it's few and far between. So those who have got flights that haven't been cancelled in July, yes, we are servicing those. But otherwise, it's difficult to get new flights without it costing quite a lot of money at the moment.
So, what do you gather? I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you're not on the phone every minute of the day to these airlines, but what's the general feeling that come 1st of August there'll be a squadron of 777s flying into Dalaman?
Well, no, their schedules are out, so you know that EasyJet will be flying on certain days to Dalaman, and as will BA or Turkish Airlines or Jet2, etc. So we know their schedules, but it's not increased any more than it was before. In fact, it has decreased, and they can't just put on aircraft willy-nilly because they've got to plan these things, weeks, months ahead.
Sure, but does that give you an issue? You said that the prices had gone up. I think you mentioned that. If you didn't mention it in this interview, you mentioned it to me earlier today. Yeah. Does that give you an issue if people have booked a package holiday with you and they've just, I booked it last September to come this August, but the price has gone up? Are the airlines playing ball with you and allowing you to continue with that booking without any increase in price?
Oh yeah. Once we made bookings, last year for most of our September departures. Actually, for this year, all our September bookings are previous guests. 85 to 90% of those who book for our September departures have been with us many times before, and they normally book very early. Those prices are set in stone anyway.
And did you get a lot of cancellations when this COVID of existing bookings, or did people think, well, I'm going in August and September, things should be fairly cushy by then?
Yeah, we've not had many cancellations for August or September. We've had some. I take the first call usually. We've had calls from guests who are a little bit worried about what will be happening over there. Usually those who are over 65, 70, they've got some issues in terms of their mental well-being or their health. So, but those who cancelled or in May, June and July had to cancel because of the flights that the airlines cancelling. On that point, I must say that of those who cancelled, 80% have rebooked for next year at the same time. So what I did was I negotiated with all our overseas suppliers, that's all of them, carte blanche, all agreed to honour the same prices this year as for 2021. We then had to talk to airlines about making sure that the flight prices were similar, and in most cases they were. So not many, if any, of our clients were penalised for deferring holidays May, June and July to 2021.
Good. Well, that's good.
Very lucky.
Yeah. So once I get off the aircraft, I'm temperature tested, I get my transfer, I'm taken to a hotel or to a villa.
Yeah.
What's the practicalities? What am I faced with there? Are the staff wearing masks? Are the pools open? Are there buffets available? What's the procedure there?
So you will be temperature tested in all hotels. That's a government regulation in Turkey. Only the once. Some hotels are doing it every day, but I think the rule is only once. So on arrival, you'll be tested. Staff who come anywhere not within, but up to a metre from guests will be wearing masks and gloves. And those masks are only allowed to be taken when they're not in front of guests. So pools are open. Otherwise, it's normal. But yes, okay. There's no buffet breakfast. Most of those are now table service. And a lot of our hotels, Graham, are boutique hotels, but not tiny ones. They're about 30 rooms plus, but they're quite spacious. So there's plenty of room actually in our hotels. But I can imagine some hotels in Kalkan, our biggest resort, that's not entirely possible. But in our product, it's fine.
And what about the hoteliers themselves? I mean, have they all been paid up to date with pre-COVID contracts? Have you taken this opportunity to maybe look at renegotiating contracts, etc.?
Well, I honestly believe that the way we work, and I think a lot of specialists are very similar to this. There are some ruthless people out there, brighter than me maybe, but we consider them partners really. So we know that they're suffering as much as we are, and therefore it's not the time to kick them. We've said to all of them, look, we will honour the prices now because you've got to live as well as we have. Without them, we're nothing anyway. Their product is excellent, and I want them to be as happy as we can be. I made a bit of a decision in October, Graham, to actually advance quite a lot of money to the hotels in Turkey this year. I mean, a lot of money for me is like close to £300,000, and I did that obviously without the 2020 hindsight of COVID-19 occurring in March. So that money's out there, it's gone, and all the hotels have virtually been paid, not in full, but they're sitting on a lot of our cash, which will not be used up this year.
Okay, well that's good. What about other European markets? Turkey's obviously a favourite for lots of other European countries, Germany in particular. Will they be travelling in and flooding the market more so than the Brits because their aircraft are moving earlier?
That's a good question, Graham. I don't know about Germany. So Germany certainly, like the Brits, will go into a destination like Turkey if there's been a problem there before, and there has been in the past with some terrorism. They're the first to go back in. I think Germany has been allowed to go into Turkey. So at the moment, they're there, not in their hordes, because again, it depends on the flight frequencies. So they are there, not in our particular resorts, but in some of the mass market ones, where the hotels have been open.
And do you feel confident in your business and in the destination that you'll be able to return at some point to something near the business levels you had, say, this time last year? And so are you budgeting for that?
Yeah.
By August 2021, you'll be back singing and dancing again.
I think we will be able to get over this year because of the amount of bookings we've got for August, September, October, and towards a little bit at the end of July. We operate, Graham, a trust account and have done so for since we started Discerning Collection. Therefore, all the clients' monies are actually in that trust account. It means I can't spend it. So I couldn't have spent it on marketing or taking it out for lunch or, you know, that sort of thing. I can't actually spend that money. It's there. So when they've cancelled, I've been able to give them the money very quickly. I've not been able to give them the airline money as quickly as I'd like. In fact, airlines have been absolutely woeful in terms of refunding different discussion. But I believe that once this season's over, we'll be back to normal in May next year with bookings, that is. So I don't see that. I mean, we're a smaller company, Graham. We're not the likes of some of the online institutions or TUI or etc. So we're slightly different, but I believe we'll be exactly the same next year as we forecasted for this year.
That's interesting. Well, 2021 could be a year for firsts then, if you take me out for lunch. So that's one thing. More seriously, do you think they need that Turkey, from a tourism perspective and a brand perspective, the attributes that the country gives the feeling of, if you're going to book a holiday to Turkey, what does it mean to you as a consumer? Do you think there's an opportunity for Turkey to, if you like, rebrand, reboot, whatever you want to call it, re-image the country? First of all, is there a necessity? Is there an opportunity? And if the answer to those first two is yes, what do you think the likelihood is?
Well, the answer is yes, absolutely. I think, you know, you've picked up a great point there. They should be doing something. I've always battled when we were a much bigger specialist in terms of tapestry, where we were the biggest specialist and actually made a difference in Turkey. I always had a battle with the Turkish tourist board in that a lot of their decisions were made in Ankara and were global as opposed to resorts, destination specific or UK specific. I think it's a great opportunity. I think they've done pretty well actually in what they've asked their hoteliers and villa owners, etc., and staff in the leisure industry in Turkey to do. I think they've been very good with those instructions. Turkey does have a great advertising budget, and you see those lovely videos that come on, but they're just quite generic. They're not. Yeah, I mean, I think as a tourist board, they have to be fairly generic, but Turkey's a big country. I don't believe that it helps me at all if Marmaris or Bodrum is advertised. It doesn't help. It may help the big boys, but for me, no, we want it to be a different market. In Turkey, it's got fantastic service, fantastic food, fantastic water, seawater, brilliant, clean. Yeah, there is an opportunity for them to pump it out, and it's a question of whether Turkey has got the money. You know, they've had a hard time of it. All their businesses.
They have had a hard time of it, but you know, in the more recent past, almost wherever you go in the world, you know, you can be in Kathmandu and suddenly popping up the television will be an advert for Turkey. I'm not sure how relevant it is in Kathmandu for an advert to be there, but they've obviously spent some money with a TV channel, a global TV channel, or
yeah, Graham, you see that you missed it because it's probably Turkish Airlines that's advertising as opposed to Turkey, the country.
Turkey. I know between Turkey and
Kathmandu. You saw that.
I was there on a long weekend, but the point is that Turkey does seem to spend an awful lot in obscure TV advertising, and
I agree with that. I agree. Obscure is the word. Yeah.
And that's my point really, is whether there's an opportunity, you know, if those monies, and I'm sure the Turkish government will dig deep into their pockets, because Turkey has a very high percentage of their economy is dependent upon tourism. But nevertheless, we're not going to come to a conclusion on that. I would just like to say thank you very much. You seem to have weathered the storm, if the storm indeed is over, reasonably well. And thank you, because I know you get up early, so